Good morning. Good morning. I'm grateful you came. I know you could be anywhere else, and I also know from experience that when you finally take a seat for this kind of work, it is not because you're collecting another souvenir for the shelf. It's because quietly, sometimes wearily, there's a feeling. I have tried so much, and still the thing I long for is not in my hand. I am speaking to those who have carried books in briefcases and methods in pockets, and who are brave enough to admit that the heart keeps whispering, not yet, not quite. And so, here we are. This is a strange gathering, not because we are unusual people. Oh no, not at all, not at all. But because what we are considering together is unusual in the world. Most are not interested in ending the search. They are interested in improving the search. A better workshop, a more radiant guru, a faster mantra, a shinier ladder to climb. One more rung, and perhaps the view will finally be what the brochure promised. You know the feeling. I know it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about in that. You need a sense of humor just to be human. But let us acknowledge, with a little smile and a lot of honesty, that we have become experts in upgrading the quest. Now, if we dare to whisper a question into the room, just a small one, what if the quest does not need another upgrade? What if it needs a redirection? The scriptures, the sages, the poets have said it in a dozen languages. The kingdom of God is within. We have heard that line so often it has turned into embroidery on pillows, a kind of spiritual wallpaper. But suppose it's not poetry. Suppose it is the sober, literal truth. Then I ask you, and I ask myself, with affection and no accusation, what are we doing running from teacher to teacher, method to method, shore to shore, as if the kingdom had packed a bag and slipped out the back door? You can't find what you are. Sit with that, not as a slogan to paste on the refrigerator, but as a living question. If it were literally true, if the thing I seek is the very substance of my being, what would that do to my errands? What would that do to my desperation? Would it not be like a wave swimming the ocean to go find water, or like a ray looking for the sun while bathing in its own light? And I know the immediate protest rises, but I don't feel like the kingdom. I don't seem to be the presence. My life doesn't look like that. Oh, not at all, not at all. Don't be discouraged by appearances. I am not asking you to pretend. I am asking whether it is possible that our direction has been off by a few quiet degrees, so that our sincerity runs and never arrives. This is not an attack on devotion or on discipline. Without them, we wouldn't have enough steadiness to sit still for half a minute. Every step that has brought you here deserves honor. Your prayers, even when they were bargaining. Your meditations, even when they felt like daydreams. Your retreats, even when they were vacations with a halo. These were part of the ripening. So do not fear that I am going to sweep your altar clean and send you home empty. Oh no, this is gentler than that. This is a turning of the chair, outward to inward, from polishing the window to noticing the light that has been shining through it all along. I wonder if it isn't something like the difference between studying maps and looking up to realize you are already in the country. There is all the value in the world to a good map when you're on the road. But what if the itch to reach for the next map is itself the reason we don't look out the window? We are not invalidating the maps. We are considering that for this particular destination, the map is inside the very seeing. If the kingdom is within, the coordinate is not over there. The coordinate is awareness itself. And the search, hear me, begins to end the moment we even suspect we have been facing the wrong way. That's all it takes to startle the heart into stillness. A suspicion, a holy, what if I turned? I can hear another protest, and let's bring it into the light so it doesn't have to lurk in the corner. If I stop seeking outwardly, won't I become passive, lazy, irresponsible? Won't life roll right over me? Oh, not at all, not at all. It doesn't mean neglecting your duties, abandoning your studies, or refusing help when you need it. It doesn't mean severing friendships or doing away with the church or never reading another good book. It means this: whatever you touch outwardly is no longer the source. The source is within, and the outward becomes an instrument. And the most practical man or woman is the one who knows where the source is. To stop running is not to collapse. It is to stand where you already are and feel the ground. You see, the ache of the seeker is not that they don't love God. The ache is that they love and believe God to be somewhere else, in a time to come, in a person to meet, in a condition to achieve. And so the mind builds a glorious horizon and keeps walking toward it. We bless the walking. It kept us moving when stagnation would have swallowed us. But the quiet correction now is to turn. It is to ask with a tenderness that will not bruise the heart. If God is, then where is God at this moment? If the kingdom is within, what does within mean? Not to a poet, but to me in this room, with these hands and these ears and this breath. I am not going to answer that fully this minute because I want you to feel the question breathing in you. I want it to become so alive that it begins to lift your attention from the horizon to the here. You can't find what you are. If that is so, then the only thing that needs to stop is the running. We do not need to add a single thing. We need to pause long enough for the truth we have memorized to become the truth we are tasting. That is all. A simple suspicion that the treasure wasn't buried in a far field. It was under the house from the beginning. So for today, let us be gentle with ourselves. We were not wrong, we were ripening. But now let us agree for the span of this hour to lay down the next improvement of the search and to let a deeper possibility come forward, that what we have desired is present, that the presence we have addressed as thou is the innermost of our own being, and that the way to it is not far, not arduous, not costly. It is only turned. We can do that. We will do that. And in that simple act, the weariness begins to loosen its grip, and the heart, surprised by its own nearness to home, grows very quiet. Now, before we rush into the next promise or the next practice, let us be honest together and name the habit that turns a morning like this into just another mile on the road. The habit is this: the mind makes God into an object. The mind, very sincerely, very earnestly, converts the infinite into a something to gain, to reach, to deserve, to hold, to keep safe in a little box called my experience. And the minute the infinite is turned into an object, you can be sure the chase is on, because objects live in time and space, and the mind loves to run in time and space. Soon. There. After I fix this. After I improve that. And the horizon, which is very faithful in its job, keeps moving away as we walk toward it. Who is doing this? Who is it in us that believes God can be held like a coin, placed in a pocket, spent for emergencies? Who is seeking? And what is it seeking for, really? Let us ask it plainly. Is it seeking God, or is it seeking relief? Is it seeking the one presence, or a guarantee against loss, a charm against fear, a better story to tell about me, a safer identity, a spiritual status that says, now I am significant? I ask not to shame us. Oh, not at all. Not at all. I ask because the one who is asking is the very fellow who cannot find what he is looking for. The seeker, this personal I that stands apart and reaches, is the only obstacle on the road it claims to be traveling. This is the great unmasking. The hidden assumption on which the seeking self feeds is simple and very costly. God is elsewhere later, after I improve, after I meditate better, after I am kinder, after I earn it, after I finish this workshop or leave that habit or volunteer at the shelter, elsewhere, later, after. And because the mind has swallowed this assumption, it builds a road. And because it has built the road, it must walk it. And because the road is made of elsewhere and later, it cannot by its own nature arrive at here and now. Do you see why the search never finishes? The one who set out on the journey defined the destination as absence. We are walking toward a point called not yet. I can hear an objection. Let us not let it hide in the pew. Are you saying we stop living, stop learning, stop caring? Shall we shrug at our weaknesses and sit down on the job? Oh, not at all, not at all. We do not stop sweeping the house or studying the art or showing up for our appointments. We do not become careless or passive or irresponsible. What stops is subtler and far more important. We stop using God as a solution for the personal self. We stop turning the infinite into the handyman of me. We stop asking reality to decorate the little room of the ego with better curtains and a softer rug. We do our duties, we love our people, we make the phone calls and keep the books. But we cease bargaining with the infinite for improved conditions for a separate identity. That is the end of the chase. Let us look this I in the eye. Who is it? If we strip away the story, where I was born, what I have suffered, what I have achieved, what I fear, what I hope, what remains, isn't the seeker, in fact, a thought image? A package of memories and anticipations stitched together with anxiety and desire. And if the seeker is a thought image, what will it find but more images? It prays in images, it meditates on images, it seeks an image of God, and then it worships its own projection. The seeker's sense of separation manufactures the endless road it claims to be traveling. It builds the ladder, climbs the ladder, and, because it cannot bear to be unemployed, adds another rung. Just one more book, one more cleansing, one more technique. You need a sense of humor to be spiritual, otherwise you'll cry all day. The moment I catch myself saying, I will get God if I perfect this method, I have to smile and say, ah, there you are, my industrious little builder of futures. Get thee behind me, sit down, be still. Now I am not denouncing methods. Methods teach us to sit still long enough to be found. I am not denouncing discipline. Without it, the circus in the head runs 24 hours a day and sells popcorn. But hear this. No method can deliver God to a separate self, because the belief in a separate self is the only veil. The personal I reaches for God as a fish might reach for the ocean. If the fish could only stop thrashing, if it could only relax its panic, it would discover it has never been outside. The remedy is not more thrashing. The remedy is the loosening of the one who thrashes. Let me put it another way, because this is the pivot on which the whole work turns. When the personal I prays for God, it prays to its own picture. It says, I over here would like to attract that over there. It installs a gap and then tries to cross it with bridges made of thought. Thinking won't make this so. The only thing that ends the journey is the discovery that there was no gap to begin with. The kingdom is within, and within does not mean buried under layers of improvement. Within means within awareness itself. Before the thought I arises, before the plan, before the fear or the hope, there is a quiet being here. There is presence. There is what is. And it is not two. Our task, then, is not to organize a grander search party, but to expose the false center from which searching proceeds. Do not worry. I am not asking you to attack yourself. I am asking you to notice the move, to notice when I takes hold of a holy phrase and says, yes, now I will make a career out of God. To notice when fear dresses in religious clothing and bargains, if you will keep me safe, I will give you better attendance. We are not dealing with a wicked villain. We are dealing with a habit. And habits fall away not by hatred, but by lack of interest. The moment there is a taste, a small taste, of the presence that is not owned by me, the glamour of self-improvement begins to lose its shine. So for a little while, let the seeker be seen through. Let it talk, but do not sign its petitions. Let it propose another scheme, and then let a deeper part of you smile and say, "Thank you, but I am not going that way today." We are not reaching for God to serve me. We are resting in God until me becomes transparent to the One. Deny thyself, not your meals, not your studies, not your music, but the claim that there is a separate owner of life who must attain life. In that denying, which is really a relaxing, a releasing, the road shortens to a point, and the point dissolves into presence. Then the mind, which had turned God into an object, falls quiet, and the one who is not two begins to be felt, not as a belief we defend, but as the very life that is being us. And from there, though we are not yet there in this hour's unfolding, the whole prayer changes. But first we must bring the seeker to silence by seeing what it is, an activity of thought maintaining a sense of distance. The moment we question that distance, the chase loses fuel. The moment we rest the personal I, even a little, something else becomes possible. Not achievement, not capture, but recognition. Presence recognizing itself as the life that is here. We will not get to that by running. We will get to that by not needing to. And the marvel is, this is within reach because it is within being. Where God is, I am, not two, but one. Let the road end where your feet already stand. Let the seeker grow quiet enough to hear what has always been speaking in silence. Now, since we have dared to say the kingdom is within, we must not leave that dangling like a pretty ornament on a tree. What is within? Do we mean inside the chest, a few inches behind the breastbone? Do we mean at the back of the head somewhere, near the place where headaches seem to set up camp? Not at all. Not at all. If a surgeon with the steadiest hand in the city were to open you, they would find organs and blood and marvelous machinery, but they would not find the kingdom of God in the anatomy. The kingdom is not a gland. It is not tissue. It is not even a spark tucked away in a corner of the brain, waiting to be discovered by a clever microscope. Within means within awareness itself. Let us be simple. Right now there is the sound of this voice. There may be the sensation of the chair, the sight of a window, perhaps that extraordinary orchestra out there we call traffic, doing its best to accompany the sermon. All of that is appearing. Where? Not in the wall, not in the chair, not in the body as a box. It is appearing in awareness. It is known in you as knowing. Before the mind says, I like it, I don't like it, before it names the sound or evaluates the view, there is the bare fact that something is being known. That bare, open, silent knowing. This is what I mean by within. It is not a where in space. It is the fact of knowing in which all space and all things are disclosed. Now, there are two directions, and we have grown very skilled in one and very shy of the other. One direction is outward. I look to the scene. I look to the event. I look to the opinion. I look to the bank book. I look to the blood test, and I look for confirmation that I am safe, blessed, loved, supplied. And when the report nods, yes, I rest, and when it shakes its head, I run. We have rehearsed that for a lifetime. The other direction is inward, not inward to a thought about God, not inward to a private emotion about holiness, inward to recognition, to turning attention back upon its own ground, to resting as the awareness that knows the report, the book, the test, the face, the weather. In that turn, oh, it is so slight we could miss it with a blink, there is often a small but unmistakable shift, a quiet click. I call it a click because it is not a thought, not an argument won, not a conclusion. It is the simplest ah of being, a sense, however faint at first, that presence is here as the very knowing of this moment and that it is not two. Do not struggle to manufacture this click. Thinking won't make this so. Thought can stand at the shoreline and describe the ocean all day, temperature, salinity, tides, even poetry about the moon on the waves, but it cannot feel wet by speaking. The click is the first wetness. It arrives when the describer falls silent long enough for being to be noticed. And if you say, "But I don't have hours to sit and wrestle my thoughts into submission," I answer, "Oh, not at all, not at all. We are not defeating thought with thought. We are letting thought do what it does, paint, measure, remember, while we access that which is already prior to it, that in which it appears and disappears, like clouds moving across a sky that need not chase or tame them to be itself the sky. Words can serve us up to the threshold. Then they must bow. I can say kingdom, presence, God, awareness, and for a minute the mind nods politely and feels it has done its duty. But that is like reading a menu and expecting the roast to rise off the page and nourish you. The menu is necessary. It points. The meal is necessary. It satisfies. The lecture is a menu. The click is the first bite. And you will know the difference because concepts leave a man starving enough to argue about flavor, while awareness leaves him quiet enough to be fed. So if within is within awareness, how do we turn? Not by squeezing the eyes or stopping the breath until we turn a shade that alarms the usher. Not by cultivating an exotic mood, putting on what we imagine to be a mystic's face. You need a sense of humor about all that because the ego dearly loves to put on robes and declare itself spiritual. The turn is homely and immediate. Pause one heartbeat, just one, and ask without words, what is it that is aware right now? Don't answer. Answers are thoughts on the shoreline. Instead, allow the question to dissolve back into the very knowing of it. In that dissolving, in that softening of the eye that hunts for objects, a sweetness, a stillness, a naked okayness may announce itself, not as a trumpet blast, but as a relief. You may find that you have been standing in your own home, arguing about directions at the doorway. I can hear the practical voice pipe up, "All very well, but I have a living to make. I have a body to care for. I have children and deadlines and a dentist appointment next Tuesday." Good. Good. Bring your life with you. Don't leave it in the coat room marked secular. This is not an escape hatch from living, nor is it a demand that you become unusual. It asks only that while you live and move and have your being in the ordinary round of duties, you return again and again, even for moments, to the simple fact of awareness and feel, not imagine, that it is whole, that it is not anxious, that it is not born and not dying, that it is not two. Then make the phone call from there, wash the dish from there, sit in the waiting room from there. You will discover that the world is not your source. It is your instrument. The kingdom within does not abolish the dentist. It abolishes the fear that the dentist is your fate. Let us put it yet more plainly, because I want you to be absolutely clear. The kingdom is not a secret compartment in your ribs. It is the light in which your ribs are known. It is not a treasure hidden under the brain. It is the knowing by which a thought of brain arises and subsides. It is not a private room you must reserve in silence. It is the silence by which the room, the noise, the silence, and the self you imagine, all of it, is illumined. Oh, but this is too grand, you say. Too metaphysical for me. Not at all, not at all. A child knows how to be aware. A laborer knows how to be aware. A saint knows how to be aware. The difference among them lies not in worthiness, but in the degree they have learned to trust this inwardness as first, to abide there even while they swing a hammer or recite a hymn. Now, when that trust grows, prayer begins to change, but we will not run ahead of ourselves. For the moment, let it be enough that within has found its true address, within awareness, and that this awareness is not a personal possession called my consciousness, which I can misplace in a crowded day. No, It is the one consciousness being this very knowingness now, whether crowded or quiet, whether the mind is peaceful or telling stories. Where God is, I am, and where I am truly, God is, because we are not two in essence, only in the play of function. So today, test this gently. When you feel the pull to look outward for a sign that you are safe, that you are blessed, that you are getting somewhere, pause long enough to taste the click. Turn from the report to the light in which the report is read. Turn from the mirror to the seeing that discovers a face. Turn from the thought I to the aware being before the word I, and rest. Even a breath or two, even a heartbeat or two. Do this not to achieve, not to collect, not to fix. Do it to recognize, that is all. Recognition, presence known as presence. And you will find, little by little, that the distance you were trying to cross was a thought, and that home was not at the end of the road, but in the very seeing of the road, within, where belief gives way to knowing and the hunger for someday yields to the quiet of now. Now we must say a very plain word about what we are turning from when we turn within. We are turning from the sea of thought. When I say thought, I do not mean merely the chatter of words in the head. No, not at all, not at all. I mean everything that can be seen, heard, tasted, touched, or smelled. Everything the senses report and the mind names. Everything remembered, anticipated, regretted, rehearsed. Every arithmetic of gain and loss. Every internal weather pattern of mood. Every opinion you carry of yourself or your neighbor. Every doctrine you cherish. Every image you fear. Every plan for later today, and every ghost from 20 years ago. I mean the whole sea of mentation, the moving picture of impressions and the commentary that declares, this is me, this is mine, this is God, this is not God. All of it. The sea is not bad, it is just the sea. But the mistake is trying to cross it in a paper boat called I will think my way to God. We are capable of remarkable feats in this sea. We can invent languages and raise children and bake bread and build bridges, and how grateful we must be for the faculties that make civilization possible. Let us be clear, we are not going to war with thought. We are not joining the anti-thought society and hanging a sign that reads, silence or else. You need a sense of humor about that. If you attack thought, the thought that attacks thought grows twice as loud and hires a band. What we are doing is far simpler and far kinder. We are learning the limits of thought and letting it resume its rightful place as instrument, not as God. Here is the trap, and it has caught the most sincere of us. Sometimes for years, we keep attempting to solve a spiritual question with more mental activity. We read a book about God and then read a book about the book about God. We analyze our motives and then we analyze the analysis. We try a technique for 5 minutes, then we peek at the clock to see if it's working, like a child lifting the lid off a seedling to check if it's sprouted yet. We measure our results, make a chart, compare yesterday's peace to today's disturbance, and then announce a verdict. I am getting closer, or I am slipping. Do you hear the hum? I, me, my. The personal I, standing inside the sea, taking the temperature of the water every second and wondering why it doesn't feel the sun. The more we think about God as a separate object, at a distance, in time, the more we postpone the only event that matters, direct awareness of God as the very being of this moment. That is a paradox, and if it pricks you a little, let it be a holy prick. The more sincerely you think about God, the more likely you are to crown thought king, and the king, though well-meaning, cannot cross his own boundary. Thinking won't make this so. Thought lives by the subject-object game. I, over here, think of that over there. I, in this minute, strain for that in the future. The mind's bridge is made of time, and the infinite is not on the other shore of time. The infinite is the water itself in which the mind floats, the light by which the water is seen. So what does it mean to rise above the sea of thought? It does not mean getting rid of waves or emptying the ocean. Oh, not at all, not at all. It means ceasing to identify as a wave and relaxing as the ocean. It means letting thought move as it will without climbing into each idea as if it were a boat you must row to the promised land. To rise above the sea of thought is to arrive in divine consciousness. That is a high phrase, but it is not a high-wire act. It is homely. It is a shift of identity from thinker to the awareness in which thinking appears. And the proof that you have touched it, even faintly, is a felt quietude that does not come and go with the sentence in your head. Let us try it on for a moment, right here in the midst of whatever noises the city offers us. Let the sounds be. Let the sensations of sitting be. Let the flicker of attention to breath be. Don't fix the breath. Don't sand the rough edges off the street noise. Notice the stream of impressions and the headlines that rush to announce them. And now, very lightly, turn from the headlines to the page on which they are printed. What is it that knows the sound? What is it that notices the pressure of the chair? Don't answer. Answers are more headlines. Just rest as that knowingness, wordless, open, not hunting for anything. If a thought says, "Am I doing it right?" smile at it as if you're waving to a friend from the shore and let it sail by. Wait for nothing. Strain for nothing. If there is a click, a small loosening, a sense that the whole show is floating in something untroubled, good. If there is no click, good. The point is not manufacture. The point is recognition when it happens, and non-interference when it does not. I can hear someone ask, but how will I know the difference between thinking of God and being aware of God? You will know because thinking of God agitates, even when the thoughts are sweet. It sharpens the outline of me as the one who thinks and God as the one who is thought. It yields commentary, comparison, and, sooner or later, fatigue. Being aware of God, which is the same as resting as the awareness in which all appears, leaves a taste of quiet, not a mood, not a trance, a steady okayness that doesn't depend on the story behaving, a softness at the center that can make a phone call without bargaining for a better outcome, that can feel a feeling without turning it into a verdict. The difference is not dramatic in the way the ego prefers with fireworks and confetti. It is simple, like the hum of a refrigerator you only notice when it stops. The hum of anxiety dims. The reflex to check if you are there yet loses its teeth. Do not, I beg you, turn this into a project of perfecting thought. We do not need holy thoughts to meet a holy God. We need to stop crowning thought as our mediator. When thought behaves, say thank you and use it to count the change and read the map. When thought misbehaves, say thank you and leave it to cool while you return to the fact of awareness. Rising above the sea of thought is not an accomplishment. It is a permission slip you grant yourself to be what you already are. And because it is permission, you can sign it in an elevator at a red light, between sentences in a meeting. A single inward pause, one heartbeat returning attention to its own ground, is often enough to taste the difference between thinking of and being. You may ask, what of practice? What of method? Should I abandon the meditation I have learned? Oh, not at all, not at all. Keep any practice that helps you sit still long enough to notice that you're already home. But measure no practice by the number of thoughts you suppress or the hours you accumulate. Measure by one thing only. Does it make the click more available? Does it train you to recognize the difference between the sea and the sky? If it does, keep it lightly. If it tempts you to grade yourself spiritual, loosen your grip. The infinite will not be bribed with minutes. It reveals itself when bargaining ceases. Now tuck this away for what is to come, because it will turn our understanding of prayer right side up. The presence of God, consciously felt, is the insurance policy, not the sentence you say, not the technique you polish, not the argument you win with your fear. That actual awareness, that actual feeling of God's presence is the only guarantee of right outcome, and it guarantees it without your managing the movie. Why? Because the one that is aware is the very life out of which forms arise harmoniously. It is the sun. The warmth and the tan are inseparable from it. You do not need to negotiate for warmth with the sun. You need only come out from under the awning of incessant thinking and stand in the light. Let us then be gentle, steady, almost ordinary in our approach. We will still think, of course we will. We will still plan and remember and tie our shoes, but we will not ask thinking to do what it cannot. When the sea is rough, we do not command the waves to be glass. We rise in a boat that floats above the chop. Awareness is that boat. The moment you relax back into it, even if the mind is flapping like laundry on a windy day, something in you is already above the storm. Freedom comes not by perfecting the wind, but by remembering the sky. Freedom comes by rising above thought into direct awareness, not by perfecting thought, and the marvel is, the rising is no rising at all. It is the simplest non-doing. Let the wave be a wave and be the ocean. In that, the search grows quiet, the need to check results thins, and life, responding to its own source, begins to order itself without your anxious hand on every lever. That presence is on the field. That presence is the policy. And from here, prayer will soon cease to be talk and become recognition. But not yet. For now, rest, just for a heartbeat, in the fact that the sky is already present, and you are not the weather. Let us take up a very homely lesson, the kind we could do at the breakfast table, and if I had a glass in my hand, I would do it here and make the janitor nervous. Imagine a plain tumbler. Nothing mystical about it. Now let us look at it carefully and ask the simplest question in the world. Where does the outside of this tumbler end and where does the inside begin? Does the outside come to a stop at a line and the inside take up the rest? If I place my finger here on what we call the outside and pour water into what we call the inside, are we dealing with two separate somethings? Or are we just using two words, inside and outside, to describe the one thing we all see, glass? Take your time with this because the ego is very quick to say, yes, yes, I see, inside, outside, one glass, and then it hurries off to keep the separation in some other way. Look again. Is there an edge where the outside resigns and the inside is sworn in? Is the inside a second substance, a second entity glued to the outside? Or are we looking at a single substance that presents two faces for two functions? One side you touch with your hand, the other side holds the water. There is but glass. Two in function, not two in substance. Now watch what happens in your own thought as you let that sink in. Inside and outside do not vanish as words. We may still speak of them for practicality, and nobody will be sent to the principal for using the vocabulary. But the illusion of two independent existences fades. If the outside gets a crack, we do not send the inside to a separate hospital. If you polish the outside, the inside gleams. Whatever occurs to the glass occurs to the glass. There aren't two glasses doing a duet. There is but glass. Let us bring this close, so close the breath may stop for a second, because this is not about crockery. This is about your life and mine. What is the relationship between God and man, between the invisible we call spirit, presence, life, and the visible appearance answering to your name? Is it two? Is there a God somewhere, over there, infinite and shining, and a man, over here, finite and fretting, and we must build a bridge of prayers and disciplines to get from one to the other? Or is it like our tumbler, two in function, one in substance? God is our invisible selfhood, We are the visible, externalized form and activity. We are only two in function. There is no me or you, separate and apart from God. There is but God, appearing as this individual identity, as that individual identity, never severed from its source, never out on its own trying to drum up a life. Now, immediately, we must protect this truth from the mischief maker that lives in all of us, because the moment this is spoken, some corner of the mind hears, "Ah, grand news, my personality is divine, I can sign the checks, God, and expect the universe to applaud." Oh, not at all, not at all. This does not make the human ego God. It dissolves the ego's claim to be a separate selfhood with its own light. It doesn't crown the personal I with a halo. It cancels the personal I as an orphan and restores it to its parentage. It doesn't mean I, John or Mary, have independent wisdom, power, love, strength, virtue. It means there is no my wisdom, no my power, no my love, no my life apart from God life, God wisdom, God love being this very being. The moment a man or woman believes they possess a quality of their own, limitation begins, because then there must be a boundary, an outside and an inside in truth, and fear comes to guard that little kingdom. No, the secret of life is oneness. Where does God leave off and man begin? Where does spirit stop and matter start? Where is the line drawn? If you look for it with the same simple honesty you brought to the tumbler, you do not find a seam. You find language, creator and creation, father and son, invisible and visible. You find roles, functions, faces, but in substance there is but God, and what you call man is God's own form and activity. God made flesh, God rendered visible as individual expression. Two in function, one in being. This is why the search proves so tiring when we imagine ourselves a little puddle trying to puddle our way back to the ocean. It is a fantasy. What is this me that is going to reach God? If there is only glass, what is this outside organizing a field trip to visit the inside? It cannot be done because it does not need to be done. The seeker is the sticker on the tumbler, not the glass. You know the kind I mean. Some department store glues a label on the side. The label announces outside. The other side of the label announces inside. Peel it off, and what do you have? Just glass. When you rest long enough in the recognition that you are not a separated I, traveling toward God, but God expressing as individual identity, the label loosens. Sometimes it takes a little warm water, compassion, patience, and sometimes it comes off in a single gentle pull with a satisfying click. But always, underneath, unchanged and shining, is the one substance. Now, do not think this consigns you to passivity, or that it asks you to become otherworldly, as if you must let the body rot on a riverbank to prove a point about spirit. Oh, not at all, not at all. It is precisely this recognition that makes us practical and free. The outside of the tumbler still meets the hand. The inside still holds the water. Your visible life will still cook meals, answer letters, pay bills, but it will do so without the incessant fear that you are an isolated agent managing a separate fate. You act as the function of God expression. You decide, you plan, but you do not imagine that the outcome rests upon an I distinct from the one that is being all. You become master of fate by not trying to be author of fate. The outside lets the glass be glass. The inside lets the glass be glass. In that, harmony appears naturally because glass acts according to its nature. Let us ask another version of the same question, a version that returns us to the kingdom within. Where does the outside world end and the inside mind begin? Is the tree outside and the thought of the tree inside? Are there two, really? Or is there awareness, the one glass, within which tree appearance and thought appearance arise as differences of function, not of substance? If you look for the line, you cannot find it, because you can only ever find experience in awareness. The so-called outside and inside are both known in the one knowing. So too with God and man. The invisible presence and the visible sense are known as one life, not as two lives negotiating a treaty. And here is how to use this. Right in the thick of an ordinary day, when you feel yourself tightening to make contact with a distant God, straining, bargaining, promising, stop long enough to take our little glass back in hand in imagination. Ask softly, where is the line here? Then apply the question to your own being. Where do I leave off and where does God begin? Don't answer with a creed. Let the question do its dissolving work. Look and feel, not with eyes and fingers, but with that open awareness we have already tasted. Very often right there, the label loosens. A click. The seeker relaxes, and what was imagined as a journey becomes recognition. I and my Father are one, not two becoming one, not one trying to remain one. One. Notice what falls away when this recognition even lightly dawns. The panic to get results eases because who is there to impress? The fear that you are empty and must fill yourself with spiritual experiences quiets, because who could be empty of the very substance of life? The compulsion to compare yourself with your neighbor dims, because there is no separate storehouse of good to hoard or lack. There is just glass, shared by all as the only being there is, fulfilling itself in countless functions, and from this quiet prayer itself will change. But we will come to that. For now, let this be enough. We are not standing outside the kingdom, noses to the window. We are the very visibility of the kingdom. Separation is an appearance, useful for speech and the arranging of chairs, but not true in substance. In substance, there is but one. So the search for God turns out to be the search for our own selfhood, and the discovery is not a journey's end, but a veil removed. When the veil lifts, the glass that has always been glass is seen as glass, and the heart, at last, rests. Now, let us come to the tender place where much of our weariness has been born, the place called prayer. If we are honest, and we must be, or nothing will shift, most of what we have called prayer has been negotiation with the infinite. We come with a briefcase full of documents, petitions, amendments, emergency motions. Dear God, if you will only do this, just this once, I will do better, I promise. Or, Lord, please adjust that person, alter that condition, reassign this weather system, and improve the distribution plan while you are at it. We are very busy advising omniscience, and if I sound as if I am smiling, I am, but not unkindly. I have prayed these prayers more than once. I have caught myself mid-sentence and wondered, who am I kidding? Am I hoping to instruct God or to influence God? And the answer often has been yes. Then I hear an old voice in Scripture rise up in me. Get thee behind me, Satan. Not because desire is wicked, but because bargaining is ignorance of the nature of the one with whom we think we are bartering. Let us not scold ourselves. The instinct to petition comes from a beautiful place, the hope that there is help, that life is not a closed room. And that is true. There is help, there is presence. But the way we've been going about it has kept us circling the same lamppost for years. We have treated God as if God were outside the glass, an official in a distant office, and we, clipboards in hand, must file the right forms to win a hearing. No, no, the kingdom is within. The presence is the very life of this awareness. And if that is so, then the model of prayer must change. It cannot be advising, it cannot be pleading, it cannot be bribery, negotiation, or an attempt to perfect a human picture by more passionate description of the picture. Then what is prayer? Prayer, rightly understood, is communion. It is the restful, wordless, or softly worded realization of God's presence, felt, not merely thought. The prayer now becomes the single prayer. Seek me only, not for things, not for conditions, not for effects. Seek only the conscious awareness of God. Never pray for anything at all except a deeper awareness of God's presence. And the marvel is that in that realization, the effects we have chased turn up of their own accord, adjusted according to a wisdom that did not come out of our outlining. Why? Because qualities are inseparable from their source. Take the simplest image we have, one our little children understand without a lesson. You cannot ask the sun to shine on you. The sun is shining. You can stand under an awning and write poetry about sunlight. You can fast and weep about your lack of tan. You can lecture the sun on your need for warmth and put it on your prayer list. None of it changes the sun. What can you do? You can come out from under the awning. You can bring yourself into the sunshine. And then, without bargaining, without a single syllable of petition, what happens? Warmth, light, a tan if you endure it long enough. You did not add warmth to sunlight. You did not persuade the sun to take your case. You placed yourself where what always is could touch you, or better, where you could feel what always is. So it is with God. God does not withhold peace to be coaxed or prosperity to be haggled for. God is peace, life, love, intelligence, present. We are the ones under the awning of incessant thought, measuring our case, thinking of God as an object. The moment we turn quietly within, above the sea of thought, there is contact, and with contact come the qualities of the source, unseparated. Clarity for action, love without effort, order without anxious blueprint. Oh, but are you saying, do nothing, lie in bed and hum hymns while the roof leaks? Oh, not at all, not at all. This is not passivity. This is the most intelligent and practical action possible. Turn to the cause before you grab at effects. When we turn within for conscious contact, we are not going limp. We are plugging the lamp into the wall. After that, by all means, call the roofer. But it will be the right roofer, and the call will be made, without that inner grinding that turns a simple phone number into a 3-act play. The activity that follows communion is clean. It comes out of clarity instead of panic. You will discover that a minute of realized presence often resolves what an hour of worry could not touch. Let us make this so plain that a child could guide us through it. Old prayer. God, fix this. God, change that. God, deliver me a package marked health, supply, favor, and please leave it at the back door so the neighbors don't see. New prayer. Father, reveal thyself. Father, here I am, quiet, receptive. I seek nothing but thee. And then silence. We are not trying to manufacture a feeling. We sit, we stand, we breathe, and we wait until there is the barest click, the loosening, the unlabored sense that the kingdom is not a rumor. Sometimes it is a warmth at the heart. Sometimes it is only a settledness that needs no name. That is enough. I assure you, that presence of God is the insurance policy. If that presence is on the field, what power is there to oppose it? Then, if you must speak a word, let it be a word of realization, not request. Where God is, I am. I live, yet not I. The Christ liveth my life. There is no my supply, my wisdom, my safety. There is the sufficiency of God being the only life here. And notice what falls away when you pray like this. The urge to make speeches to deity quiets. The lists grow shorter until they evaporate. The inner hands unclench. And as you relax your grasp, the very things you truly need, what is rightfully yours to use, begin to appear without the pall of bondage. Opportunities turn up that your planning did not design. Guidance arrives in a sentence that wasn't on yesterday's agenda. A conversation that used to stick and sting now passes through love's atmosphere untouched by old resentments. Not because you managed your enemy into a better shape, but because you stepped into the light and discovered him in that same light. Some of you are thinking, what of pain? What of the diagnosis? What of the bills on the desk right now? My heart is with you. And this is precisely when the old prayer becomes most tempting, because fear says, do something, anything, rattle the gates, bargain hard. But look, has that ever given you the peace it promises? We are not ignoring appearances. We are refusing to worship them. We are not delaying action. We are sanctifying it. We are saying, first the sun, then the warmth. First the contact, then the phone call. First the realization, God is here. God is this life. And only then the step that reveals itself. The Master left us a simple, sharp instruction. Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added. Seek first, not seek occasionally, not seek as a last resort. Seek first. Seek me only. Let me be very explicit about the mechanics, because the mind, bless it, wants something to do and will otherwise start writing new petitions in invisible ink. Several times a day, stop. A minute will do. Turn from the picture, your picture, the world's picture, and become quiet. Say within, if you like, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth, and then don't speak. Let the hearing come forward. If no words form, better. If they come, let them be simple. Thank you, or I am, or thou art. Wait for the click. If it comes, even faintly, sit in it another breath or two. If it does not, do not wrestle. Rise, go about your task, and trust that you have still turned your face to the sun. Return again later. This is prayer, not the words, but the turn, not the argument, but the awareness. And the proof that you have prayed is not that your list is shorter, it is that you are quieter. Out of that quiet, the next right thing is already on its way to your feet. You may ask, but isn't it selfish to stop asking for others, to refrain from cataloging their needs before God? Oh, not at all, not at all. The greatest gift you can bring to anyone is realized presence. In that awareness, you see your neighbor not as a problem to be solved by your eloquence, but as the same one life in another function of the glass. In that, the healing that occurs is deeper than symptom trading. Your communion blesses universally. It cannot help it because oneness has no private edges. What you know in secret is shouted from the housetops, not as noise, but as atmosphere. So now we have a new understanding with which to live and breathe. We will not negotiate with the infinite. We will not instruct the sun. We will take down our awnings and let the light do what light does. We will turn within until the click becomes familiar, and we will let that contact be the beginning and the ending of our prayer. Seek me only, seek me only. In that, the personal I, so busy composing petitions, retires, and divine selfhood stands where the petitioner used to stand. Then prayer is no longer our words about God. Prayer is God's own presence knowing itself as this very being, and the heart, finding its native climate, rests. Now there is one more mischief we must expose, because it is clever enough to borrow our new language and wear it like a disguise. Even after we say, seek me only, some little manager inside starts drafting a memo to the infinite. It sounds very pious. It says, Father, I seek only thee, so that my body will behave. The bank account will swell. The phone will ring with the right voices. The children will become saintly. And, if you could, let this all occur by Thursday. We smile, but listen, because I have written that memo myself and filed it under spiritual. This is the subtle bondage. We convert the most sacred practice into a tool for securing effects. Health, supply, peace, recognition, certainty. The words are new, but the impulse is the same old bargaining. Let us give this impulse its right name. Outlining. Outlining is the habit of telling the infinite the form in which good must appear, the channel through which it must flow, the time by which it must arrive, and the costume it must wear so we recognize it at the door. Outlining is not trust. It is fear dressed in religious vocabulary, and behind fear there is always an owner, There is the little I with its satchel of precious objects to protect and acquire. I sometimes call them trinkets, these little objects of undue importance, positions, opinions, relationships, even spiritual experiences that we clutch as proof that we are all right. Anything to which we attach a tremble. I must have this, I must not lose that, becomes a charm on the bracelet of bondage. Now, let us be absolutely fair with ourselves. This is not an anti-life teaching. Oh, not at all, not at all. This is an order of life teaching. It does not say, refuse the good things of life. It says, refuse to worship them. It does not say, ignore the body, despise money, reject companionship, decline the call that would use your gifts. It says, put the kingdom first, and let these be what they are, forms in which God's sufficiency appears, and then they will not own you. The way to have right use of life's good is not to chase it, fight for it, or dictate its shape. The way is to relinquish the grasping and turn to the source. Seek me only. And here is the paradox that the mind does not like, but the heart recognizes. The moment we stop demanding effects, effects line up at the door without handcuffs attached. You know this already in simpler realms. You cannot force sleep by demanding it on the schedule of your anxiety. You relax into it. You cannot produce inspiration by threatening it with a deadline. You create the conditions of quiet, and it arrives, often with a smile at your bossy lateness. So it is with the tangible needs of life. We have believed that the way to secure them is by constant mental labor, measuring, managing, outlining, bargaining. And then we have wondered why, after we get them, we are not free, because we did not receive, we captured. Captured goods must be guarded, received goods are stewarded. Captured goods produce pride and fear, received goods produce gratitude and right use. But if I do not specify, won't God give me something I don't want? Must I be satisfied with scraps? Who are we kidding? Are we hoping to insult God into generosity? The sun does not give darkness. Spirit is not a vending machine with surprise flavors. The infinite is fulfillment being itself. Our outlining does not protect us from God's mistakes. It protects us from God. It keeps us under the awning, fussing with the thermometer, while the sun is flooding the yard. When we stop outlining and return to source, life's right provisions appear, without bondage. They come as what suits the nature of the one being, itself as you, not as what flatters the personal daydream. And because they do not flatter the eye, they free it. Let me show you how this looks in the course of a very ordinary day. You need employment or right activity. The old way, sit down with a pad and write in capital letters what it must be, what it must pay, where it must be located, how the boss must speak, and at what hour of morning the desk must face east. Then storm the gates with recruitments and fears. The new way, seek first. Sit a minute, rise above the sea of thought. Make the contact, feel for the click. Say nothing about desks. Rest in where God is, I am. God is the life and form of this being. Then, in the quiet that follows, take the next simple step that rises of itself. Place a call, tidy a resume, walk 2 blocks you were not planning to walk. Very often the opening appears where you were not looking, with details you would not have had the audacity to outline. And do you know the sweetest part? You are not enslaved to it when it arrives. It is not a golden chain. It is a channel for function, which is to say, another face of the one glass. I must say this again for the mind that is whispering, he's describing passivity. No, we are not giving up activity. We are giving up anxious authorship. We are not ceasing to choose. We are ceasing to clutch. We are not refusing to decide. We are refusing to imagine that wisdom originates in a separate me and must be defended at all costs. Outlining is the posture of a beggar who believes the warehouse is far away and the owner is stingy. Realization is the posture of an heir who knows the house and trusts the heart of it. Why do we cling then, if the remedy is so simple? Because desire, in its desperate form, belongs to the personal I surviving its own invention. The moment I regards itself as a separate author of life, it must plan, it must hoard, it must insist. It begins to believe in private good and private danger, and so it outlines a private salvation. But as I yields, dies daily if you like, to the truth that there is but God being here, the heat goes out of desire. Preferences remain. Yes, God is not turning you into a gray cloud, but desperation dissolves. You can love a form without worshiping it. You can accept a gift without bowing to it. You can let a form go without losing your life. And do you see what happens? You become master of fate by ceasing to be its slave. So here is a small practice, a child's practice, really, and therefore trustworthy. Each time you catch yourself specifying the time, the channel, or the costume your good must wear, stop and smile kindly at yourself. Say within, Father, I relinquish the form, reveal thyself. Turn, even for 30 seconds, to the felt awareness of presence. Wait for the click. Then move on with your day. If you must write a letter, write it. If you must say no, say it. If a window opens that you did not order, step through and see. What you will find, more and more, is that the goods of life arrive without the old price tag of fear. They are not alone with interest. They are an appearance of the One, to be used, enjoyed, and released as the One moves on. And in that rhythm, notice the air in the room. It is easier to breathe. The heart is quieter. The faces around you are no longer obstacles or instruments. They are fellow functions of the same glass. We have stopped chaining outcomes to our wrist, and strangely, what is right for us lingers willingly. We have put the kingdom first, and the rest, faithful to the Master's word, is being added without bondage. Seek me only. Let the light do what light does, and let the little manager go home early with pay and no job to return to, because the government of your life is upon a surer shoulder. Now, if we are going to let the government of our life rest upon that surer shoulder, something in us will have to resign its post. You know the one I mean, the personal I, the little manager who thinks it is indispensable, who keeps keys to all the filing cabinets of destiny. The Master gave it a very short instruction. Deny thyself. And immediately the mind, bless it, pictures hair shirts and caves and some variety of noble misery. Oh, not at all, not at all. We are not talking about hating ourselves or starving the body or turning beauty into sin. We are speaking of a metaphysical correction, a simple and saving refusal to believe that there exists a selfhood apart from God, with qualities of its own to boast or to improve. Deny thyself means, deny the claim of a separate author. Let the personal I step out of the director's chair. Allow the one presence to be recognized as the life of this very being. Now, why is this necessary? Because the instant we believe we possess anything of our own, wisdom, supply, love, health, we meet the inescapable limits of a private reservoir. The moment I say, my wisdom will see me through, I have already sealed the borders. I will be as wise as my yesterday's reading and my nerves permit. The moment I say, my savings will sustain me, the number in the ledger becomes my God and my prison. The moment I declare, my love will heal this, I have committed somebody to perform generosity out of a small pantry, and there will be fatigue in it and disappointment built into it, because it started with me. Do you see the mechanism? The separate I manufactures its own finitude and then labors under it. It builds a little cistern in the desert and appoints itself water commissioner, then wonders why it lives with thirst. The truth is gentler and more radical. There is no my wisdom, There is the wisdom of God, infinite and present, expressing as the clarity necessary for this hour. There is no my supply. There is the sufficiency of God without measure, appearing as right form, right opportunity, right function. There is no my love. There is love being itself. And when love loves, it does not tire. It does not keep accounts. There is no my health. There is the life of God, the only life there is, the animating principle that constitutes body as instrument, not as God or enemy. All that God is, I am, not as a private owner, but as the transparency through which the One shines. When we begin to live on that basis, we do not become less. We become free of the fear that has been masquerading as responsibility. I can hear someone say, but if there is no my, what becomes of my individuality? Do I smudge into a gray population of saints? No, you need a sense of humor about this. God has not created a row of fence posts. Individuality flowers more richly when its root is not in a personal plot, but in the one soil. The tumbler is still a tumbler. The water is still water. Two in function, one in substance. The moment the glass tries to say, I have water of my own, it must either become proud and brittle or empty and terrified. But when we know the relationship, when we know there is but glass and water functioning as one utility, then the drink is always present and no one is boasting. How do we practice this in our hours? The instruction is die daily, not die dramatically, not die angrily, die daily. Little yields, little relinquishments. Let me give you a small behavioral fast that will, if you will permit it, expose the whole machinery of separation. For the next 7 days, start with 1 if 7 looks tall. Watch your speech for the words I, me, mine. Don't condemn them, mark them. Each time you are about to announce, I think, pause and say instead, it is given me to see, or the wisdom of God in me is speaking. When you reach for my money, try the provision entrusted to my use, where you would say, my body, let it be, this instrument of God's life. Do not make a religion of grammar, make a revelation of awareness. You will discover how often the little commissioner stands up to be counted before breakfast, perhaps more times than you would have thought possible. Smile, kindly, say within, get thee behind me, habit, and return to the truth. I live, yet not I, the Christ liveth my life. Now, please hear this reassurance so that we do not turn a liberating practice into a new perfectionism. This is not an exam in pronoun usage. If you forget and say I 500 times, heaven does not close. The point is not to ban a syllable. The point is to reveal a posture. The fast is a light turned on in a busy room. It shows where the chair is so we do not bruise a shin. Each recognition is a loosening. Each time we notice the old claim, I must do this, I must fix that, I must carry this world on my back, and we gently shift to Father, reveal thyself. A strand of rope falls away. We are dying daily to the fantasy that we are separate and self-sustaining, and the kingdom, which was never obstructed, shows up as our very atmosphere. Let me take it out of the sanctuary and into your kitchen, where life is proved. A disagreement rises at home. The reflex says, I will set this straight. I will win this point. I will not be made small. That is the whole desert in 3 sentences. Try the fast. Turn within. Father, reveal thyself. Rest a minute if you can, even with dishes in the sink. Wait for the click, however faint, some release of heat, some sense that presence is here. Then speak if speaking is given, or keep still if stillness is given. You may find that the sentence you were about to hurl dissolves without cost, or you may find that a clear boundary comes, not as a spear, but as a simple yes or no. In either case, it is not your love or your wisdom that acted. It is love loving and wisdom speaking where a private claimant had been rehearsing a scene. This is deny thyself in shoes you can walk in. Another hour. A symptom appears in the body. The old announcement rises. My health is failing. I must battle this. Now, we are not pretending discomfort is pleasant. We are not asking you to call fever cool, but we are refusing to enthrone the personal author. The prayer is not, God, please come and repair my health. The prayer is realization. God is the life of this being. The life of God cannot fail or fragment. Father, reveal thyself. Then rise above the sea of thought. Rest until the presence is felt. After that, take whatever step is given in peace. Call, rest, remedy, without bondage to fear, because the actor is no longer a frightened I trying to sustain what it believes it owns. The activity is God's, the outcome God's. And strangely, not strangely at all, harmony appears more readily when the one is left to be one. We must face an awkward pride that hides under our good intentions. The separate I would rather be a heroic failure than a transparent success. It would rather say, look how hard I tried, how much I suffered, how valiantly I held on, than quietly admit, the Father within doeth the works. Deny thyself breaks the spell of spiritual drama. It returns all authorship, all agency to its rightful owner, and leaves us in the happiest role a being can know. Instrument, transparency, outlet, and from that, joy because the strain is gone. The jaw unclenches. The clock is kinder. The faces on the street are not competitors or threats. They are functions of the same glass, and we can afford to love, because love is loving. You will notice this shift in small phrases that begin to arise unbidden. Where you used to say, I hope this works, you will find God is on the field. Where you used to say, I can't, you will hear, to God all things are possible, and there is no me separate and apart from God. Where you used to say, my problem, you will find, this is an appearance, and the reality is God. These are not slogans to paste over fear. They are recognitions that grow naturally as the personal claimant retires. And because the one does not retire, life, which is God's being in expression, continues, more fluidly, more kindly, more intelligently than any personal will could contrive. Let us be patient with ourselves. Die daily means precisely that. A day at a time, a yield at a time, a smile at a time. If today all you manage is to catch the eye once before lunch and turn, you have died a little to separation and lived a little more to the kingdom. Tomorrow it may be twice, then more. Eventually the habit forms in which the first movement of any hour is not, what shall I do, but, Father, reveal thyself. And that is the beginning of mastery, not over other people, not over conditions as if we were magicians, but over the only thing that ever bound us, the belief in a self, apart from God. Deny thyself. Let the little manager go home with pay and no desk to come back to. The kingdom does not enter then. It has been here all along. It simply shines where the obstruction claimed to stand, and we find that where God is, we are, and where we are, God is being God. And now, as this little manager retires and we notice the air is easier to breathe, something else becomes visible, and we must name it, or we will be tempted to keep our discovery behind our own eyelids, as if it were a secret hobby. The kingdom, when it is felt, does not stop at our skin. Light does not know walls. Awareness does not carry a tape measure. The moment there is a resting in the one presence, without bargaining, without a private author, that very resting is a blessing, because oneness has no edges on which to hang a me and a you. Inner realization is never private. It is quiet, yes, but it cannot be contained, any more than a lamp can decide to shine for only one chair in the room. Let us look at the logic of this, not as poetry, but as simple metaphysics, that you can test between breakfast and noon. If there is but glass, and we are two only in function, God as the invisible life, and this person as the form through which it is poured, where does my glass end and your glass begin? Is there an outside to the tumbler and an inside to another tumbler that do not share substance? Or is there one substance here appearing as many forms, each without a private supply, each without a private life? When the Master said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," he did not lay a moral weight on our backs. He revealed a fact. Your neighbor is yourself, your true self, because there is but God being appearing. To recognize that is love. To act from that recognition is service, and it stops being strained because it is not a performance. It is a remembrance. Now, when you rest in this, you will find that your presence, which isn't yours at all, alters rooms. Not because you have learned a trick, and not because you project a personality improved by the latest metaphysical cosmetics. It is simply that the one presence, consciously recognized, displaces the atmosphere manufactured by fear. A quarrel softens without an argument won. A child stops fretting without being bribed. A clerk who has been hard suddenly finds a smile without an explanation. You do not say a word about God, perhaps. You do not impose a text. You do not announce, "I am now blessing this establishment." You take your attention off the mental theater. You rise above the sea of thought. You seek me only, and then you order your tea. And because oneness has no edges, the harmony you know as truth for no one in particular appears as decency and ease for everyone in the vicinity. Someone asks, "Isn't this suggestion? Isn't this one mind trying to whisper into another across the room or across the world?" Oh, not at all. Not at all. That would be just another form of outlining, and it would tire you out by Thursday. What I am pointing to is absent blessing, which is not absent at all, because presence is not in space. When a friend is 3,000 miles away and you are asked to pray, you do not send willpower across their sky like a telegram. You make the same turn we have been practicing. You become still. You deny the separate author. You realize God is the life of being, here, now. You rest without a picture of them improved. You ask nothing. You wait for the click. And because there is only one life, one law, one consciousness, the realization that is present here is not mine over yours. It is universal. The appearance there will begin to find its right level without your engineering. Distance never existed to the one. I can hear the reasonable mind saying, "But must I believe in miracles for this to be so?" No, no. Let us not make a museum out of this. You do not have to sign up for miracle clubs. You only have to begin to see that consciousness is causal, that what is held as true in the secret is what you end up living in the open. We have all seen the opposite demonstration. Anxiety cultivated in private grows weeds in public. A house where two people rehearse bitterness alone finds itself surrounded with little frictions as if the universe were eavesdropping. Is it so strange, then, that peace cultivated in secret should have public consequences? We are not changing iron into gold. We are letting reality be itself where our mental fog had been rehearsing a storm. Please understand, demonstration is not a badge. It is fruit. A branch does not hold a committee meeting to produce apples, nor does it take photographs of itself and send them to the neighbors. Abiding is its only task. Abiding is ours. When the click has come, when our prayer has become realization and not a speech, life will show forth the evidence appropriate to the hour. A letter we needed arrives without fanfare. A diagnosis begins to shift, not always in the calendar we would script, but in the direction of wholeness. A habit that seemed welded to a man for 20 years begins to loosen, and one day he chooses differently and is astonished at himself. No one is superior in this. No one is inferior. We differ only in the degree to which we abide. and therefore in the degree to which the fruit has had a chance to ripen. There is a kind of service that grows from this which does not drain. Many of you have tried to carry families on your back and discovered you were not designed to be a pack animal. Here is a different way you hear of trouble. Instead of collecting facts and forming opinions, as if your belief could be an antibiotic, you become inwardly still. You do not enter the courtroom of the mind to argue the case and win a verdict. You retire to the sanctuary where no verdict is needed because the judge is presence. Father, reveal thyself. That is the whole prayer. Not fix Tom, not soften Mary, not please dismiss this circumstance. Seek me only and wait a minute, 2 minutes, 5. Then go on with your day. Very often you will find that the phone rings with a calmer voice on the other end, or the meeting that you dreaded becomes unexpectedly useful, or your part in it is shown to be silence, and that silence turns out to be more eloquent than your best speeches ever were. Now, because we live in a world noisy with results, there will be a temptation to advertise this. Resist it. Whatever you realize in secret will announce itself without your help. The quiet blessing is not a campaign. It is not a way to be important in your circle. The more we take off the personal label, the more readily life answers. When I have slipped, and I have, and tried to claim a result, the flow grows thin. When I keep my mouth closed and my heart open, the grace goes on without interruption. It is not humility we are practicing for moral credit. It is accuracy. There is no me separate and apart from God to receive applause. There is but God being God, and we are glad to see it. Finally, let us broaden our view without making it large with weight. You can walk through a bus station, a school, an office, a ward, and never say a word about religion, and yet be the transparency through which the atmosphere lightens, not because you are now the presence of something, but because you are not asserting a private presence at all. You are abiding. You are letting the one be one where you are. In this way, the kingdom discovered within does not merely bless your morning. It radiates without edges, without effort. This is the natural commerce of spirit. What is realized as truth is truth everywhere, and like the sun, it needs no spokesman. Bring yourself into that sunshine, abide until the click is familiar. Then watch the ordinary hours become the demonstration and the service you thought would require extraordinary means. Seek me only, and let the blessing take care of its own geography. Now, since this is not a theory to be admired, but a life to be lived between the alarm clock and the pillow, let us make it very simple. The infinite way, if it is anything, is this: a daily return to conscious contact, so consistent, so gentle, that seeking gives way to abiding, not a marathon, not a hero's quest. A few minutes at the bookends of the day, and little returns in between until the click is no longer a novelty but the climate of our living. In the morning, before you report to your list, before you read what the world has decided to worry about, sit up on the edge of the bed, if that's what the schedule will give you, and be still. Close the door of the senses, not by hating sound or sight, but by letting them be and not following them. You do not begin with a speech. You do not inform infinity of your agenda. You present yourself like a guest who rings a bell and does not shout through the mail slot. 1 or 2 sentences may be used as a doorbell. Father, reveal thyself. Here I am. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Now wait, a minute, 2, 5, if grace arranges it. Let the surface of thought ripple as it will, and discover that underneath there is a quiet awareness that does not come and go with every bubble. Rest there. Do nothing to it. You will not make God arrive by clutching. You will notice, perhaps, a small softening, sometimes strong, sometimes like a feather brushing the air. That is the beginning of the click. When it is there, however it is there, acknowledge it without excitement and go on into the day. Where God is, I am. At night, before you abandon the day to sleep, make the same return. Not an audit of moral credits and debits. Oh, not at all. Not a report on how spiritual or unspiritual you have been. Sit or lie there and let the hours fall off you as a coat falls from a chair. Seek me only. Father, reveal thyself. Do not pray for correction of events. Do not outline how tomorrow should be. The sun does not need you to aim its rays. You only need to step again into the light. Rest until you feel even a whisper of that presence. Then let sleep come as a continuation of that rest, so that the night becomes not an intermission but an abiding. Now, because the mind has habits older than your metaphysical reading, it will interrupt. The moment you sit, a parade of outlines will begin. You will find yourself planning a conversation, mending somebody, negotiating a result with the infinite as if heaven needed coaching. Smile, kindly, catch it in the act, and without scolding say within, no, not that. Seek me only. Let the sentence fall away as if it had been written in steam on a mirror. Return to the quiet awareness underneath thoughts. If fear rises, do not debate it. Fear feeds on argument. Turn from the picture. Father, reveal thyself. Stay until the taste of presence is on the tongue of your awareness. Then proceed. Thinking won't make this so. Realizing will. There will be mornings when the click is clear, and there will be mornings when you seem to sit in a stranger's house. Do not draw conclusions about your worthiness. No, no, this is not a weather report on your soul. The sun is not more present on cloudless days than on cloudy days. It is your ability to feel the warmth that varies. So we sit regardless. We make the turn regardless. The practice is not to manufacture a result, but to establish a habit of return. Over time, the distance between your attention and that quiet awareness shortens, like a friend moving next door. You will discover that you need less time to find the door because you have ceased to wander so far from it. And in the hours between the bookends, make tiny Sabbaths. Before the phone call, one breath. Seek me only. Before the difficult sentence, one turn. Father, reveal thyself. At the sink, with water running. At the red light, well, not in the crosswalk, please, but you know what I mean. When annoyance flashes, let that very flash be your bell to return. We are not adding religion to our day like another appointment. We are remembering that reality is already here, and we are stopping long enough to notice. 10 seconds is not too small for God. He is not measuring the length. He is enjoying the welcome. Some of you will, out of old zeal, try to use this as a lever for effects. You will catch yourself making the contact and peeking over its shoulder to see if your problem is shrinking yet. I know the move. I have practiced it. It is a wonderful way to keep the thing you want to be free of very large. So when you notice yourself peeking, forgive it and correct gently. Seek me only, not my gifts, not my signs. Me. Bring yourself into the sunshine. Do not count your tan. If warmth is present, forms will align in their right way at their right hour without your supervision. And if this hour contains no drama at all, only a quiet goodness, rejoice. You have been spared your entertainment. You will forget. Of course you will. You will go 2 hours, 4 hours, a day, and discover that the old seeking has you by the collar and is dragging you toward a project called fixing life. That discovery itself is grace knocking. Do not say, I have failed. Say, I have been found. Turn, one breath. Father, reveal thyself. Say it in a crowded hallway without sound. Say it in a taxi. Say it in a hospital corridor where sorrow seems to have rented all the rooms. Presence does not require silence to be itself. We cultivate silence only to notice what does not depend on it. This is not asceticism. It does not deprive you of your work, your art, your play. Oh, not at all. It reorders the government under which those arise. When the click is familiar, when God contact is the first movement, Work becomes function instead of striving. Art becomes expression instead of self-advertisement. Play becomes joy instead of escape. We stop handling effects and let cause be cause. The BBLEs lose their glamour, and we discover they are very fine servants when they are not our masters. We did not get them by wanting them. We find them in their place by not wanting them more than the one who is already here. Let us agree then on this narrow funnel. Never start a day or end a day without that inward turn, however modest. And whenever the hours permit, and they will, because you are the one arranging them, insert these tiny returns until the heart knows the way in the dark. You will not arrive with a trumpet. You will simply notice one noon that the old restlessness has failed to report for duty, and in its place is a quiet okayness that does not depend on anyone's behavior, including your own. Seeking has become abiding, not by decree, but by practice, not by effort, but by remembrance, not by getting somewhere, but by discovering you were never far. And should you ask for a measure, here is the only one worth anything. Do I feel, however slightly, that presence which assures, where God is, I am? If yes, go on with your day. If no, pause and return. Repeat this 100 times without counting. This is the infinite way in the hours, a simple daily way that keeps the door open until the open door becomes the house, and we find we have been home. Seek me only. Rise above the sea of thought. Rest in the click. Then live, and let God be God where you are. Let us be quiet a few minutes. We have used words to come to the edge of a wordless place, and that is all words are good for, to bring us to a threshold they cannot cross. We have pointed, we have corrected, we have laughed a little so the shoulders would drop, and now the work is to stop working. No new thought is needed, no new sentence is needed. The signposts have done their duty. We are going to the country beyond the signposts. Close the little shop of the mind for a moment. Its wares will still be there when you come back, and you can price them then if you wish. Let the day stand outside the door without knocking. We are not abandoning life. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We are returning to life itself, so that when we open the door again, it will be life that comes in, not our old collection of opinions. You do not have to make your breathing spiritual. You do not have to fold the body into a perfect creed of angles. Sit as you are, be as you are, and let a single intention be present. Father, reveal thyself. Now release the hour that just passed, its small triumphs, its awkwardnesses. Release the plan that was beginning to form about tomorrow's errand and next week's problem. Release the picture of yourself that tries so charmingly to be the host of this moment. It is not the host. Presence hosts itself. Let thought do what wind does in the trees, and discover that you are not the leaves. You are the stillness in which the rustle is heard. If a sound comes from the street, let it be included. If a memory rises, let it be included. We are not fighting pictures, we are ceasing to worship them. We are not entering a trance. No, no. We are rising above the sea of thought by stopping our swim. The sea will not stop being a sea because we stopped moving the arms. But when the arms are still, when the arguments are silent, the water that seemed to toss us reveals itself as supported by something deeper than waves. Let the sentence "seek me" only rest lightly in the mind, not as a command to clench, but as a gentle turning of the head. Seek me only, and then do not seek. Abide. Now notice, without chasing, that what you are looking for is not pending delivery. The presence is not coming. It is here, nearer than breath, prior to thought, not dependent on your cleverness or your calm. The click may be a warmth, or it may be a great okayness without edges, or it may be nothing you can describe except the absence of hurry. Do not name it too soon. Do not dress it in adjectives. Simply recognize where God is, I am, and because God is, I am. There is no me, separate and apart from God, doing this well or doing this poorly. God is our invisible selfhood. We are the form in which this moment appears. We are only two in function. In truth, there is but God. If a petition tries to start, please fix, please give, please take away, smile at it as you would at a dear friend who speaks out of habit. Not that. Not that. Father, reveal thyself. We are not negotiating with infinity. We are not improving the picture. We are letting cause be cause and refusing to handle effects as if they were our private estate. Stay with the bare fact of presence. Let it be so bare that no idea hangs on it. If there is a sentence needed, let it be only this: Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Now we rest. 5 breaths, 10 or none counted at all. Rest as the awareness that is already aware before any thought tells you what you are aware of. If a feeling of love rises, beautiful. If nothing rises, beautiful. Do not measure, do not grade. The sun is not more sun because your skin announces warmth. It shines as itself. Bring yourself into that sunshine and let the warmth take care of itself. And with this, here, inside, not as a quotation but as a present tense, the kingdom of God is within you, not within someday, within now. Silence reveals what seeking concealed. The search relaxes in the very place it began, not because we have earned a certificate, but because we have stopped marching past the open door. In this quiet, we discover there is no pilgrim traveling to God. There is God being God, and what we took to be the traveler was a costume on that one. Let this be sealed not by effort, but by yielding. The personal I that held the pen and tried to improve the script puts the pen down. Deny thyself, meaning deny the claim that you are a separate author, and instantly the room is less crowded. Nothing is forced, nothing is added. We do not take a vow to remember this all day. Vows are not the glue here. Recognition is, and recognition needs only one thing: to happen now. We will open our eyes in a moment, but not to leave this. Abiding is not a chair, it is a way of being. When the day resumes its errands, let this stillness travel without moving. In the bus, at the sink, in the meeting, do not go hunting for God, as if the presence had taken a walk while you were paying attention to the grocery list. No, no, the kingdom is within, and because within is not a geographical word, but a word of awareness, it is present at the counter as surely as it is present in this quiet room. Seek me only, rise above the sea of thought, rest in the click, then do the next simple thing and let life be lived, not chased. One more breath. Father, reveal thyself. Amen, not as an ending, but as a nod to what does not end. We have not acquired a possession, we have relaxed into what is. Keep the door open in small ways until the open door becomes the house, and you discover over and over that you were home even when you thought you were far. The kingdom is within, and it is present now. Let us be quiet a few minutes, and then let us live from this.